1090 Jake is an Irish-American YouTube star that just so happens to be a ranking member in the Blood Gang, who has garnered millions of views and subscribers on YouTube by telling the true terrors of prison and gang life from his perspective and others. Jake has also gained tons of fame and notoriety from exposing famous rappers in the media for portraying to be someone they aren't. Today we will be breaking down the rags to riches tale of 1090 Jake and see if his methods to success could have consequences or if he is just truly a modern day genius, coming from a troubled backstory. 1090 Jake will be born out of Malden, Massachusetts, which is about 15 minutes away from Boston. After some trouble in his home life with divorced parents of a young mother and a father who he would later find out was selling drugs, Jake would go back and forth from his mother's house to his father's house most of his life before getting in trouble for selling ecstasy in school, and soon after going to live with his aunt and grandmother in Florida. Now, after arriving in Northport, Florida and causing hell for his grandmother, Jake would soon move up to North Tampa, Florida with his aunt. Jake would describe in one of his videos that once he got there, he knew he would be able to do whatever he wanted, as his grandmother, who was very old at the time, would not have very much control over him at all. And as such, 2 months into being in Florida, Jake would already have a gun by the age of 13. He described Florida from being completely different than where he grew up originally in Boston. Now, with everywhere in the world having their own like hoods and ghettos, now I think in general we can definitely all agree that Boston is a lot more tame in terms of gang life than, Florida, where, wicks and gold grills are your suit and ties. Yo, is that a tongue twister? Massachusetts? That shit has gotten me like 8 times in this recording, bro. I don't know if I'm gonna say it again. Shit, honestly, it's just bound to get wicked down there. Julio Fulio's most recent death, may he rest in peace, is just another prime example of how dangerous Florida can be, especially for ones who chose that lifestyle. And even young Inez, who I don't think he was born in Florida, but like has a heavy, violent reign on the region, or at least claims to. That's what he raps about. Having previously been involved in an armed burglary that Jake talks about in another video, Jake was out with some friends walking home from a party when a canine unit stopped the gentleman under the impression they had done a different burglary somewhere nearby. But gratefully, this one Jake actually didn't have anything to do with. Either way, it didn't matter. Jake would be searched by the police officer that night, and the officer would eventually find the firearm, and soon enough linking Jake back to the original burglary case, and much, much more since he was already on juvenile probation, coming from Juvenile Assessment Center for knocking a kid out unconscious and being charged with a felony battery. Although it would be dropped to a misdemeanor, still while being on probation and picking up an adult felony charge, things were not looking very good for Mr. Jake. After finally getting through the processing and being moved to his temporary jail, Jake would be interviewed by investigators who offered him help in exchange for cooperation. And after telling them to fuck off, soon after the next day, Jake would check his listings for his upcoming charges and could not even read the entirety of them on one page as he had 20 felony charges. 20. I don't know, I think if I had 20 charges, like 20 felony charges, God, what would you guys do if you had 20 felony charges? You know what I mean? Like, how do you feel about that? I don't know. I'd feel pretty bad. I'd feel pretty down bad, I'm not gonna lie to you. He stated in a video that he even asked some of the fellow inmates to take a look because he did not quite understand. And the look on their faces as they scroll through his charges dropped to a very grim look, and would tell him that he more than likely will be doing some time on a bid. After some time passes, Jake would soon then find out that his previous co-defendant has now flipped for the FBI and is now cooperating with them against Jake. Jake would make another costly error here by speaking on a jail phone and I believe mailing the letter out informing his team, his gang team, that hey, this guy here is he's a no-go, green light that motherfucker. But of course, the jails are watching that shit, so he would get caught up, for that too. And that would land him his first of many stints in confinement in prison. Jake would go through many trials and tribulations through his prison sentencing, like having to cut a man, being cut, beating people up, robbing, and watching men become victims of other men's needs. This for me is, I think, the reason why I give people who have come from broken backgrounds and fucked up things this kind of credit. You know what I mean? Because it's almost like PTSD. You know what I mean? Just like with war veterans. Shit has a long-term effect on you, and to be able to persevere, whether some of those actions were of your choosing or not. You know what I mean? Holy fuck! Hold on, I feel a sneeze coming. I think it still speaks volumes, for you to live and learn. You know what I mean? And better yourself and become successful at the end of the day. Especially knowing that the jail systems that we have definitely aren't very efficient in their ways of rehabilitating people that go in there. So props to anybody that comes out and comes out on a better note. That's why I can't go to jail, bro, because I'm not gonna lie, I'm not a fighter, bro. I can't witness no booties being taken, I can't cut nobody, I can't do none of that shit, bro. So yeah, jail's not for me. Jail's definitely not for me. I'm a good guy. One specific incident that Jake was involved in, he describes the feelings of how he wanted to take an electric shaver in prison to start tattooing, and the details behind him trying to acquire it. I won't go into full details, as you can definitely watch his full video and get the full details there, but it describes a man who was sent by Jake walking into a cell with a lock and a sock and bashing a man over the head with it. Once down, the attacker would begin to choke the individual while the attacker's cellmate stood over him and beat him until his body would go limp and blood poured out onto the floor. Jake would then go on to talk about how the shaver was not even in that man's room, just to show you like how fucked up shit can get in prison. Now I must say that like while Jake doesn't openly come out and say that he doesn't always like feel bad for like the actions that he's done, I think you can definitely tell and hear it in his voice that like there's some kind of like regret and remorse behind like, you know, his past self and the actions that he used to do and partake in. And I'm sure he's not proud of everything that he has done, which, I don't know, I'm just saying like you can tell like he's not out there boasting about it, about like, you know, yeah, I killed that motherfucker, you know what I mean? Like it's all very like serious, very like intelligent and very like, you know, well told. He makes it very clear that like what he's talking about was like nothing to play with, you know what I mean? Which I think is a good message to the viewers and to, you know, young people who may be watching his channel. Like, I don't know, like 1090 Jake's channel really could be like a better version of like Scared Straight. When I watch Jake's channel, bro, when I hear the stuff that he be talking about in prison, nigga, I be feeling a type of way. Like I'm like, yeah, bro, keep that shit, because that shit puts a knot in my stomach, bro. Dead ass. And that's also credits to Jake for being like an amazing storyteller. Now 1090 Jake would make his first appearance on YouTube on fellow prison channel Lockdown 23&1. In this 2-part interview, Jake would begin to tell the tale of how he got locked up and some of the violent mind-bending things that occurred. This interview would do extremely well and get a ton of good feedback from this guy's channel, and he would actually go on to recommend that Jake start a channel of his own to tell his own stories and experiences. Now this is exactly what Jake did, and he would instantly start to get traction for it. And to me personally, there's 3 main reasons why. Number 1, he's an Irish American blood. That's like a unicorn. When in the world have we ever seen an Irish American blood who has credibility in the streets? I think that's one. You know, you get the shock factor value of, you know, this Irish American kid who's got this Florida accent, you know, this Florida twang to him, and you know he's about what he says. You know, I mean, he's telling some stories from some real experiences that, you know, some grown men haven't even faced. You know, so you know, number 2 being he's young. You know, he's really fucking young. Or he was young when he was like telling his stories, you know what I mean? And number 3 is that, bro, a lot of people have been to jail, you know what I mean? Like a lot of people have been inmates, you know what I mean? I've had charges and stuff like that. So I think a lot of people can relate to like seeing things like that. And if not seeing things like that, but just like kind of going through that process and, you know, just hearing someone else who is openly talking about their experiences in jail and how it actually affected them. Not only would Jake tell stories of his own, but he would also feature previous convicts to do interviews and get their takes on prison life, and also report on the news and previous stories that Jake was able to get his hands on through public records. Now, telling stories wasn't the only thing that Jake would do with these public records. As many of you know in hip-hop rap, rapping about the places you've robbed, the people you've shot at, and the cops you've ran from has become all the rage. With that being said, I think we can all agree that some people are just like more easy to see through than others. You know what I mean? Some people are just like fucking translucent. You know what I mean? You can just barely see through them motherfuckers. Yet 1090 Jake takes this one step further to truly expose rappers for lying about certain crimes and things of their past. As we all know, public records are they're public records, you know, they're for everybody can view them. And in my personal opinion, once Jake kind of figured this out, I mean, obviously he knew it, but like once he figured out a way to like monetize it, it was up. You know what I'm saying? The shit was up. Basically using the public records to fact check a lot of the rappers who he had a funny feeling about. And soon after, Jake would begin to push out content for exposing rappers for cooperating with the police, for example, which is obviously a big no-no in the streets. The first rapper that 1090 Jake would expose on social media that would make huge headlines at the time was up-and-coming rapper Spot 'em Got 'em. 1090 Jake would do some serious digging into his paperwork and would pull some details that the world did not expect. So Spot 'em Got 'em was basically just at this house, you know, with some of his homies. And, you know, the police, they pull up, they raid it. And apparently Spot 'em Got 'em had told the police about a gun that was found in the bathroom. And Spot 'em Got 'em basically said, yeah, I'm pretty sure bro had a gun, and he was the last one in there. So the friend would eventually be picked up on gun charges. This would begin to put a lot of rappers on notice who quote unquote have some caps in their rap, you know what I mean? Because if 1090 Jake could do this to Spot 'em Got 'em, then he could do this to absolutely anyone he wanted to at any given time. Because, you know, these are all like literally just public records. And for that matter, anybody in the world could do this, you know, if they really, really wanted to. Jake was just the first person to really start putting niggas on notice. And there actually have been like multiple channels who have started like after this who like literally just use the public records to tell stories. You know what I mean? It's kind of the same as like people who go on Reddit and tell Reddit stories. You know what I mean? Kind of the same thing, just, you know, pulling other people's experiences, which is not a bad idea. Jake would even go as far as exposing one of his old friends that he was previously locked up with named King Brizzy. Now hold on, is that not some 2014 ass shit Like, y'all remember when like niggas would spell like king like KVNG on like Snapchat? Like that'd be their handle, like Kaving Julian. You know what I mean? No slug to that nigga, because I actually know someone who had that, but just saying, you know what I mean? Like, either way, before this, there have been countless videos made on Brizzy's behalf on Jake's channel, basically trying to like, you know, put on so that way they could get him out. So the entirety of Jake's fan base, including I, were extremely shocked to see that he had dropped a video exposing his quote-unquote homie. Now, I did have some thoughts after like viewing this, because, you know, on one hand, you know, you can't, if you're a reporter and you're a journalist, you know what I mean? You're not gonna like cover the truth for your homies. Or are you? You know what I mean? I guess that's like a blurred line that like you yourselves, like, let me know down in the comments how you guys feel about that. You know what I mean? And obviously, like, if your friend did you wrong, yeah, you can report on that nigga. You know what I'm saying? Because fuck them. Like, you know, fuck them. But like, if he, I don't know, you know what I'm saying? It's very situational. You know what I mean? But if you're a journalist, like, you know, like me, you do have to be like picky and choosy of what you know, report on and what you say. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I just thought, you know, there can definitely be like consequences to speaking. There can definitely be consequences, you know, especially like when you're in the gang life and you know, you claim that life and, you know, you're a reporter, you know what I mean? So I don't know. I thought I'd put that out there, that was something I definitely thought about. Exposing tons of people can be extremely dangerous, and I'm sure he moves accordingly, but still, you know, I just don't know. Like, I don't know, if I was in that gang life, I don't know if I would want to be the one telling everyone's business. You know, I think I would leave that for someone else, you know what I mean? And not necessarily telling everyone's business, because he doesn't tell anyone's business that isn't already public records, you know what I mean? So it's like, is he really doing anything wrong? That's an interesting one. You know what I mean? It's an interesting one. I don't think so, though. I don't think so. Jake would also have a serious YouTube beef that would make headlines, as another similar channel ran by a guy named Pino from Pompano, Florida, was another Caucasian gang member in Florida. And I'm not going to get too deep into their beef, but basically this guy was just another like street life prison YouTuber that, you know, you can go find the videos for yourself if you want to like see what their beef was about. But basically they were just beefing about, you know, like who says what, I think, and like if they were in prison at the same time, and, you know, just bullshit. But either way, it did actually lead to like a physical altercation that would be like recorded and put on YouTube. Nonetheless, this whole incident would absolutely continue to boost 1090 Jake's channel even more. So who is 1090 Jake? Is he a gang member, a criminal, a YouTube star, a genius? Seriously, like, you guys tell me down in the comments. I personally think bro is a genius for his YouTube career. Obviously not the criminal activities that he partaked, you know, in the past. Obviously. You know, I will judge the fact that I think it's dope that he made it through, you know what I mean, and still was able to create like a dope channel that like brings in millions of people. You know what I mean? I think that's really cool. To summarize, I actually really enjoyed making this video, for one, because, you know, just being a YouTube creator, I can definitely really appreciate what another creator has to offer. You know what I mean? I think all of us creators, we kind of view each other in a certain light, you know what I mean? And in an appreciative light of like a wow, like a ooh and ah, like that person's so cool. You know what I mean? So shout out to 1090 Jake, because, you know, we all come from like extremely different backgrounds and have a lot of different experiences and have a lot of different things that we're into and like to share. But the one thing that we do have in common is that we all like to make content. And especially for someone like Jake, who went through hell and back and made it to the top in the end, even if the choices he made were his own, it's still a great story in my eyes to see someone rise above their own demons and challenges. I think 1090 Jake is a fantastic narrator and storyteller, which is for sure one of the reasons why his channel has done over 240 million views. And like a book written by 1090 Jake would be absolutely za. You know what I mean? Just by the way he's so descriptive with what he says. Either way, if you haven't tapped into 1090 Jake, you can definitely do that right here at end of sentence. And thank you guys for watching. You know, I really appreciate each and every one of you guys for watching. I know this channel is still extremely small and I'm trying to build something good. I know I've been really inconsistent, but I also wanted to say this. You know, obviously I deal with like, you know, my own life and shit like that. You know what I mean? And I got to be better about being inconsistent. I got to be better about being consistent. So I got to stop being a bitch. I also just want you guys to know that like I could give you guys like really shitty content. Like if you guys watch my old videos, I can give you guys like some bad content that's like cut up really quickly and that's like just not quality. But I really want to bring you guys quality content. You know, so if you guys want quality content, you know what I mean, you might have to wait, you know what I mean, a few more days for it. But just know that like I'm trying to bring you guys the best quality content that I can, and I'll really be thinking hard about trying to brainstorm and get the best ideas out for you guys. And I also want to know like what you guys want to see. So if you guys, you know, have any video ideas for me down below, definitely let me know. And yeah, I hope you guys have a great day. Stay blessed, stay up, stay safe. Peace. Thank you for watching.